2024 is almost over, and it's typical since I've started this channel that I usually do an overview of what's changed in my arcade, what things I've added, what things I've removed. And so in this video, I'm going to do another arcade walk around showing you some of the differences from the previous years and some of the things that I've been generally playing throughout 2024 and what I intend to do in 2025. So let's take a look. So entering the arcade, as you can see, one of the biggest changes, and this is actually a very recent change, is that I had to condense a lot of my units to make way for this iconic arcade machine, which is kind of a bittersweet thing because I did always like having them separated, as I've said in previous videos, to show off the artwork. But ultimately, for the sake of space saving, it doesn't look too bad, and I think it functions pretty well when you take a look here. Another thing as well that I also had to do though in that process was eliminate some of my shelving, which also eliminated places I could put a bunch of these collectibles, but they did find new homes above this unit, for example, and I moved some things kind of around just to kind of fit and not look too cluttered, if that's even possible in here. And then if we get over onto this side, nothing's really actually changed too much. I got my Turtles unit here. I have these different Pac-Man units. I did add a little strip lighting to the bottom, however. That was a gift I got from my wife during Christmas. And Pac-Mania has been standing strong in the same spot pretty much since I purchased and started this channel. Now, one of the biggest differences in my arcade in 2024 was this TV over here actually died. Sorry, the TV that was in place there that I used to have my Xbox on. And I decided, you know what, I sit close anyways to my TV. So I ended up changing out to a 4K LG monitor, and that's actually what I currently play all my Xbox stuff on, and anybody who watches the channel knows Xbox is a big part of it. And then I have my PC on a separate monitor right there. And then of course, this was something that I put together at the beginning of the year. This was my Street Fighter 2 cabinet that died, and I ended up buying an HDMI converter and running a Wii on it so I could play light gun games like House of the Dead. And this has actually proven to be quite a hit. My son plays this quite a bit. I tend to jump into House of the Dead 2 quite a bit. People who come over find this pretty cool as well. So for the minimal amount of cost, and there's a video on the channel if you're interested to see what I did, for the minimal amount of cost, this is actually a pretty economical choice for light gun games like House of the Dead, and a good use for an old dead arcade 1-up cabinet. And then of course we got my PlayStation Classic setup over here. This was something I got, I believe, at the tail end of 2023. It's just like it's like a gumball game, but the kids tend to love this a lot. And then of course, moving over to this little tucked away corner, we have my Unico Visco bar top machine, which I've actually been putting quite a bit of time into. I really do like Neo Drift Out. I really do like Breaker's Revenge. However, the rest of the game list, I'm not going to tell you I've explored too heavily, but those are two standout games, and I also really like the way the buttons feel on this. I think this is a good little unit for the price that I spent. But yeah, this little corner is kind of just tucked away for that pretty much. Again, the big theme of 2024 was trying to find space, and as you can tell, I've tried to maximize it to the best of my ability. And then we move over along here. We have my two little partycades set up, just tucked away in this corner. They really haven't moved since they've been installed. Again, the Street Fighter 2 cabinet is pretty much a puzzle fighter unit. And the NBA Jam one is very hit and miss. Unfortunately, I'm not going to say I play it a ton. I think a lot of that comes down to the fact that you don't really have a secondary player on that, which is unfortunate. But when I do play it, NBA Jam Tournament Editions are usually the one that I kind of dig into. And then again, these are my kind of my staple cabinets. These two get repeatedly the most play. A lot of people really enjoy Punisher. I myself continuously try and fail to play online. When I say fail, I don't do so well against others in these games, but I'm very big on X-Men vs. Street Fighter and Marvel vs. Capcom online. So this unit gets a ton of play through pretty much since forever. And the Final Fight unit is also actually quite popular. Between Final Fight and 1943, this is a unit that gets repeated play quite a bit. Usually my son and I jump in on 1943 quite a bit as well. And then of course my Mortal Kombat unit, which I actually really like a lot, and this one has also got a ton of repeated play purely because of Mortal Kombat 3, which is one of my favorites. And again, very solid unit overall, and especially with the riser booster, it's, in my opinion, one of the better arcade one-up cabinets. And then of course, this is the newest edition that I just put a review on the channel for, which is the Iconic Arcade with the hilariously bad stool, but it was only 25 bucks, so it's not a major loss. But the Iconic Arcade itself is so far a unit I'm enjoying quite a bit, and that mostly comes down to emulation for things like Dreamcast and Neo Geo and Super Nintendo. Especially some of these Dreamcast games that I was a huge fan of, like Soul Calibur. I've been putting a bunch of time into this unit, and I foresee myself playing this a lot in 2025. So overall, this is the general arcade. It's a little hard to get a full shot in my tiny little basement, but this is the general arcade. I don't really have a ton of plans in 2025 for changing much out, especially since it doesn't seem like the arcade market's getting or the home arcade market's getting a ton of new stuff at this junction. I may, however, get rid of that unit in the back, the Pop Fly Gumball unit, and I may end up putting another stand-up arcade machine there. I would like to get something like Terminator 2 or even Time Crisis from Arcade 1-Up, and maybe just swap that out entirely and have that in the back there. But other than that, I don't have any major plans for this arcade in 2025. I'm actually quite satisfied with my game selection, and I've been pretty satisfied with it, to be honest. But with the little additions like the Iconic Arcade, the Visco, those are things that have added a bit more appeal in recent times to kind of getting down here and playing more. But other than that, I foresee myself, especially with the Iconic Arcade, having my time occupied in this arcade with kind of that unit itself. Now moving over here, kind of one of the last changes is that I had to basically swap out an old TV with my 4K 50-inch TV. And really all this space is used for is playing Switch, and of course watching an occasional stream on this TV. I did also tuck away a place, this Partycade here that I had no good place for, or sorry, not Partycade, Countercade, that I had no good place for here on top of my record collection. My record collection's set up. And then of course you got James tucked away in his corner here. Not much has changed here, but this is his glorified Fortnite setup with his Xbox Series S. So ultimately, this is pretty much the 2024 Masri Arcade. As you can see it, a lot of big changes in terms of space and positioning and swapping out stuff, and of course trying to condense everything down. But ultimately, I'm very satisfied with it, and I really do look forward to the retro gaming market in 2025 and seeing what's coming out.